Welcome back to Consulting Chai. We are again talking about hospital basics, and this is the second part of laboratory. So, let's start. So, we'll be covering equipments, store, manpower trainings, critical alerts, turnaround time, internal audit, and some important documents. We'll start with the equipment. So in equipment, you have first IQ, OQ, PQ. That is installation qualification, operational qualification, and performance qualification. Then you have the calibration that is required. So for analyzers, you have the company specified calibrations done, and for the other equipments like centrifuge or micropipette, you have a third party calibration. Then you have your maintenance log for each analyzers that is required, and then you have your instruction manuals in place. So to elaborate it, first the IQ, OQ, PQ. So IQ, it verifies and documents that the equipment is installed correctly according to the manufacturer's specifications. That includes confirming all components are present, properly set up, and utility connections are correct, and the intended environment it's suitable. OQ ensures that the equipment functions as intended within specified operating limits. So it involves systematic testing to confirm the device operates correctly under a range of conditions and meets defined performance criteria. PQ, however, demonstrates that the equipment is consistently performing according to the expectations and under actual working condition. So it basically evaluates if the system is reliably producing valid results in routine use, and it meets the quality standards required by the lab. So you just need to ask the analyzer company to give you the IQ, OQ, PQ document with the raw data. Okay, for calibration, what you need to understand is for the analyzers, you just need to take it from the company directly. So, for example, if you have a clinical chemistry analyzer, your electrolyte analyzer, immunoassay, or cell counter ELISA, you just need to ask the company to give you the calibration every year. And for other equipments like your micropipette, centrifuge, thermometer, you have to get an NABL accredited certificate. So in the certificate, the calibration agency must have NABL logo saying that their lab is NABL empaneled, and those equipments are under their scope of calibration. Then you need to maintain the maintenance log of the equipments. So these equipments basically will it will have your daily, weekly, your monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or annual maintenance, whatever is being done, everything mentioned in one page. So every month you'll have one page each, which should be basically hanged um, near the equipment or on the side of the equipment. You can hang it and check it every day. Then you need to have the instruction manual of all the equipments in place. So whenever there is some troubleshooting, you can refer to it. And also the staff, they need to have some training regarding small troubleshooting. Okay, now for store, which is related to reagents and other consumables, you need to first do the vendor evaluation. You have to select the right vendor. Then you need to review the vendors every 6 months or every at least once in a year. Then you need to maintain the list of consumables, which will have various details like its lead time and your buffer stock level. Then you need to have a reagent acceptance and rejection record, where you check the reagent, and then on the basis of how it is, you accept it. Then you have your storage, proper storage, where you're maintaining the temperature. Then you have reagent lot validation, that is the process that you do before using the reagent in the machine to check the lot. And then you have the your system of labeling your reagent, basically the date of opening. Okay, now let's elaborate. So in vendor analysis, the vendor evaluation, what you do is you see certain parameters on the basis of which you select a certain vendor. So in vendor evaluation, what you do is you see the cost, you see the reliability, how widely it is used. So you need to ask various labs um, to understand whether this vendor is able to supply those reagents or not. And then you also need to understand the lead time, what lead time the vendor is promising. And you can see how on what credit basis the vendor is willing to supply the material. In certain situations, you can also have a equipment on rental basis, or you're just asking the company to install the equipment, and you're just paying the reagent cost. Okay, then comes the vendor review. In vendor review, you need to annually review, or annually or semi-annually, you review on the basis of its acceptance and rejection rate. And you also review it on the basis of ability to supply the ordered quantity. So example, the vendor will score high if say for example you are ordering 10 number of reagents, and the vendor is able to supply 10 or even 9 or 8. If the vendor is supplying less than that, then the vendor will have lower score. Okay, then about the list of consumables, you need to maintain a list of all the reagents consumable that you have. You need to write the code of each of those, and most importantly, you need to write the buffer stock level of those reagents, the reorder level. So when you have that level, then you reorder. Then comes your reagent acceptance and rejection. So for this, you need to have a laser thermometer, and in the rejection acceptance or rejection register, you can just write about the details of the supply being delivered to the lab. And then using the laser thermometer, you can monitor what temperature it had come. So you are maintaining the cold chain of the materials. Then comes the storage. So you need to store the reagents properly. So if you have to store it in fridge, you need to monitor. You need to maintain a temperature basically around 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, and certain reagents you might also need to store it under -20. Then before using the reagents in the equipment, you need to do a reagent lot validation. So a reagent lot validation is a process where you compare the last accepted reagent with the new accepted reagent. There you compare between two things, with two things. One with the control. So in the last reagent, what the control result was. So for that, you just need to refer to the range given by the controls. whether in the acceptable range it is coming or not when you use the new reagent. And the second aspect is to compare the new and old with the same patient sample. So you can just uh, use the same last three sample where you had used the old reagent and compare it with the new reagent where you are running the same last three patient sample. And after comparing, you know whether to uh, accept or reject that lot. If the reagent lot is same, you don't need to do this exercise. Then comes the reagent label. So whenever you are opening any new reagent, you need to label the date, appropriate date, with a permanent marker that on this date this was opened. Okay. Now the manpower and training. So in manpower and training, regarding the employee files, in the employee files there can be more documents, but these are one of the these are very important ones. So you need to have JD, job description, identification documents, interview documents, the academic records, vaccination of the staff. Along with the vaccination, you also need to give your titer test reports, then your CME records. Wherever you're going to CME, you need to put it there, and then confidentiality agreement document. And then for training, you need to have a training calendar, and then you need to have a record of attendance. Then you need to have a feedback of the trainings, of each trainings, and then for each training you need to also have a effectiveness evaluation document. So now let's elaborate. So in patient files, the JD that you give should be as per in line with it should be in line with ISO 15189. Right now it's 2022. So when you watch this video, it may be later on, the standard may change. Then identification documents like your address proof, identification proof. It can be your Aadhaar card, passport, voter ID, whatever. And the interview documents, you have to keep it in the employee files. Then academic records, your degree certificates, all that. And then you need to have your vaccination record along with the titer test. Along with the vaccination titer test, you also need to have a record of annual medical checkup. And then any CME that you do inside your lab, or wherever you go outside to attend any CME, you have to have a record of those inside your employee file. And then confidentiality agreement, that is very important. So confidentiality agreement is a document where you say that I agree that I'll not be releasing any confidential information outside. Okay. And in terms of training, you need to have a whole calendar. So you can have a calendar of 6 months, you can have a calendar of for 1 year, where you list down all the list of trainings, and you also give the tentative dates for each training. Then you have the attendance record, where you not just write the name of the participants there and take signature from them, but you also elaborate a little bit about what the training is all about. Then comes the feedback of the staff which are getting trained. Okay. And then training effectiveness evaluation. So in training effectiveness evaluation, that has to be done after each training, after 2 weeks or after a month's time. You have to evaluate whether the staff still recalls about what was being trained to what was being trained. Now the critical alerts. So critical alert, first you need to have a defined list of all the critical values or conditions which has to be approved by the lab director, and then you need a critical alert register where you maintain all the records of intimation of critical alert to first consultant. If the consultant is not available, then the team member of the consultant. If the team member of the consultant is not available, then the RMO of that inpatient department. And if the RMO is not reachable, you always need to for sure have to intimate the nursing officer in charge of that shift of that particular ward where the patient is there. Okay, now let's elaborate. So define critical alert values. You have to first get it approved by at least 5 to 10 consultants, specialists like obs and gynae, medicine, surgery, ortho, cardio, like that from your hospital. Then you have to use those ones, those critical alerts. Okay, and it should be finally signed by the lab director, and it has to be pasted in the laboratory. Then you must have a critical alert register where you are maintaining all these records of what the name of the patient, UHID, lab ID, all that. Then what parameter it is, what was the critical value, to whom you had intimated, at what time you had intimated, and very important, you need to also have a column for readback. So readback is a reminder that you need to ask the other person on the other line about what that person is saying. So in critical alert values, say for example, you need to say glucose value 375. So you can't say 375, you have to say 375. And if there is a decimal, then you have to say like 375.05, 0.71, whatever it is, you have to say it like that. Okay, now the turnaround time. The turnaround time is basically the time difference of the time point from sample collection till report generation. That is basically the authorization of report, time of authorization of report. And then the aim is to track, analyze, and improve the process of TAT. Now let's elaborate. So TAT, for these are some of the examples for TAT you can use in your lab, and you can always vary. Okay, so whatever I'm listing down here is as per what I have seen in the labs I have worked for. So clinical pathology, you can have 4 hours routine TAT. For hemat, you can have 4, biochemistry 4, serology 4, micro histo will have different longer TAT. For those you won't have stat, and stat is basically the defined TAT for urgent samples. So say for example, hemat you have 1 to 2 hours, biochemistry 1 to 2 hours, serology 1 to 2 hours, like that. Okay, so there's a important usage of IT to capture turnaround time. If you go on doing turnaround time using manual methods, it is very time consuming. Okay, and most importantly, to capture the turnaround time of report generation, you must give an ID to the consultants, where the consultant has to be there inside the lab. They need to see the results, and this is especially important for him at where the consultant needs to see the slides to confirm. Okay, then after confirming all the readings, the lab director approves from the lab director's login account, and this is how the system captures the time point of report generation, and that is how you get the tab. Okay, and of course, once you capture the data, you understand where the TAT is lagging. So there are four points, time points. One is the sample collection. Second is the time when the lab receives the sample. Third is the time when the technician completes the test procedure and gets the readings. And fourth is the time when the specialist, the consultants, they see and approve the report. Okay. Now internal audit and MRM. So for internal audit, you need to go to the NABL website and look for NABL 223 document, and then you need to take a printout of that, and you need to fill that. So apart from that, you also need to consider NABL 112 for department specific points. Okay. Then you have the internal auditor. So for doing that audit, you need to have this internal audit certificate, which is a 4-day training for ISO 15189. The latest one right now, it's 2022. So you need to have a valid certificate. And then that internal audit findings needs to be followed by management review meetings. So this is as per clause 8.9, as per ISO 15189 2022. This may change in future. Okay, now let's elaborate. So this is a three-point process which goes on and on. So you do internal audit, you do management review meeting as per the findings of the internal audit, and then you take actions to improve it. And you have to do this internal audit at least once in a year. And when your lab is more experienced, you should decrease that duration, frequency of doing internal audit. Internal audit should be done by some external person. Okay, and with the internal audit report document, you also need to put the certificate of 4 days of ISO 15189 2022. And if the person has already done this before, then for renewal, you get you need to do a 2 days refresher training. Okay, then comes the MRM. So as per clause 8.9, so the core agenda of management review meeting is to review the lab's current quality systems, management systems current suitability, adequacy, and effectiveness. So whatever assessment we have done, so those are opportunities for improvement and the need for changes to the quality management system and the lab processes. Analysis of resource needs and its allocation needs to be done, and then review effectiveness of actions taken to address previous management review findings and decisions. So you need to review what was discussed last time in the management review meeting. So that is the overview. Then there are two parts, basically, the inputs and the outputs. So input of review, you need to talk about the results of internal and external audits. Okay, and some summary of complaints, some incidents, certain non-conformities that you have found out, those records needs to be discussed. Then you need to discuss about feedback from customers, feedback from doctors, feedback from your staff. Okay, and then you need to discuss about the lab's performance data, the quality indicators. Okay, and the objectives that you have laid down. You also need to discuss about the status of corrective and preventive actions, certain risk management activities that you have taken, or any changes that could impact your quality management system. Then you also need to discuss the outcome of your previous management review meetings. Then from now, talking about in terms of the outputs from the review, you have to record the decisions and assign action on quality policy objectives and labs improvement. Certain strategic changes of resources or QMS that needs to be discussed here. Certain follow-up requirements and monitoring action to ensure implementation and effectiveness. So you generally also need to discuss about the sample volume, whether you want to increase or decrease that. So as per the requirement of sample volume, you may require to change the vacutainer. Now these are some of the important records that you need to have if you are going for NABL. First thing, you have to start with scope of testing. Okay, so scope of testing is the list of parameters that you decide to go for NABL. You want to keep under NABL scope of test. Okay, then you need to get the linearity sensitivity of the equipments from the equipment company. They'll come to your lab and they'll check the linearity sensitivity and then give you a document. So you have to keep that. Then critical range. Critical range, you have to get it signed, approved by your lab director. Then your normal reference range, you have to define it and you have to use it in your reports. Then comes your filing system. Filing system is very important. During the time of assessment, you will understand the requirement, the importance of following a good filing system. And then you have to do consultants feedback. So you have to take review feedback from the consultants. So one way to do it is to have a clinico-pathological meeting. Okay, now let's elaborate. The scope of testing, when you're deciding it, you have to decide based on two things. One is regularly tested parameters. So whatever regularly tested parameters you have, you should go with that. And there are certain packages of test which comes together. So please ensure that you take all those parameters inside the scope of testing. This is important in the later stages. When you are NABL accredited, you should not release any report which is not any report which has parameters which are not inside the NABL scope and you are using the NABL logo. This will be a disaster for the lab. So please make sure you take these things into considerations. Okay, so the regularly tested parameters and the packages of parameters, you have to see that and decide it accordingly. Then comes the reference I'll go with the reference range, D first. So in reference range, reference this is a three scale. Okay, so one you have the reference range, the low to high value. Then above that you have the critical range. Critical range is anything more than this is going beyond the normal range, but going beyond this is critical for the patient. And similarly, if you go lower than this range, if you go to this level, it's a critical value. So this basically tells you that the patient is in a critical condition. And then comes the measurement range of the equipment. So this range is the range of the equipment's detection. Okay, so it's called sensitivity linearity. Okay, so you have to get that document from the equipment company. Then comes your so you need to take signatures from at least 5 to 10 consultants, stating that this is the reference range we will be using and this is the critical range we will be using. If you have any problem with that, please write, we'll change. And after some discussions, you have to fix your reference range and critical range. Okay, and finally it will be signed and approved by the lab director. Then the filing system. For filing system, you just need to arrange your files in two aspects, two dimensions. One is, first you have to arrange in as per department. So clinical pathology, clinical biochemistry, HEMAT, microbiology, serology, HR, your store, quality, equipments. So department wise, you have to keep the files. Second thing, inside the departments, you should keep it as per the frequency of usage. So frequency of usage like daily should be there in most accessible place. Say for example, you are stacking it like this. So on the right hand side, you keep all the daily used files, and then next you keep the files which are as and when required. Then comes the monthly files, then the quarterly used file, then the half yearly used file, then the annually used file, and then certain files are there, you just need to use it once and it is there for the longest duration of time. And whenever there is some kind of change, say for example some equipment related equipment history record is there, so those files can be categorized as O once. Okay, so thanks for watching, thank you very much, and please like, subscribe, and for more such contents, please do that, and hit the bell icon to get a notification of any such videos. Thank you. See you again.